Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Today, I wanted to get on and talk about emotional immaturity versus a narcissist, because I feel like we throw the word narcissist around a lot, and we use it to describe people who might just be arseholes. Like they might just be jerks, but they're not necessarily narcissists. Or they might be emotionally immature. And so when you think about people that you know who throw tantrums when they don't get their own way, they don't know how to have constructive conversation around, tough topics and issues that are coming up in your relationship or just in general. They don't take constructive criticism very well. And they just don't seem to have grown a whole lot in maturity. They might be able to hold down, the basics of adulting, right? But just on the maturity level, on the emotional level, they're just not there, right? When you think about a narcissist, it might seem like there's a lot of that going on with the narcissist, but the difference with the narcissist is that the narcissist has no empathy, right? And they will manipulate people to get what they want, and they will throw tantrums, but they're usually pretty manipulative in their tantruming as well, right? So it's not just a blow off of, steam. There's usually some manipulation involved in it, where they kind of put it back on you, like it's your fault that I'm so angry, like see what you do to me, that kind of thing. And they always put it back on you, and they gaslight you into believing that something that happened didn't happen or whatever. So there's a difference. There's a difference between being unable to engage in challenging conversations because of a lack of skill. There's a difference between that and not wanting to engage in the topic because you just don't care, right? Because I just don't care that you're unhappy is really what it's all about with the narcissist. They don't care. They don't want to have that conversation because they don't care that you're unhappy, right? So to even try to have the conversation around things that are bothering you often doesn't even go anywhere, because they just, they shut it down in whatever way, right? Like there's different techniques that they use to do that. Whereas I feel like the emotionally immature person will react in a way that is not congruent with the situation, and they'll often overreact, or they'll so the reaction that they're having is a trauma response. It's a fight, flight, freeze response, right? So they're either going to get combative, or they're going to storm out, or they're going to become apathetic, like they just won't engage, right? So and they might just sort of like give in and in the moment and be like, yes, you're right, or whatever. That's different from engaging with a narcissist, where you're trying to have a conversation with them and they're just saying, well, no, that's just not true. No, that's not how it happened. You're wrong, right? Like that's different. And so that's the difference between someone who is emotionally immature and someone who is a narcissist. And so it's important that we recognize that, because there's a huge difference in whether you should stay. Because if the person is emotionally immature, there is the potential for growth and evolution. There's the potential that if they were to receive some resources, some help, that they could overcome this, that they could heal their wounds, they could grow in resilience, and they could become more mature. With the narcissist, though, that person is not going to change, right? So if we know that, then we can adjust our thoughts and behaviors depending on what kind of relationship we're having to be in with this person. And, sometimes we can't help but be in a relationship with a narcissist because of circumstances, right? So sometimes the narcissist is our boss, or it's our ex and we have to co-parent with them. Sometimes it's a family member, and for the sake of family peace, we might have to have a certain kind of relationship with them. So there are certain circumstances where knowing that they are a narcissist would be helpful, as opposed to just chalking up to, oh, that's just them, they're just an arsehole. Because you're going to behave differently. I mean, you're still going to limit maybe the access that they have to you, the amount of energy you're going to give, but you're also going to engage in different ways. So if you're talking to someone who's just lacking in emotional maturity, you can have a conversation with them where if something comes up and they're acting in a way that is not mature and it's not healthy for the relationship, you can actually have a conversation around that. Now, you still have to be gentle and you still have to be caring about how you do it, right? Obviously, we want to have a conversation in which we invite the other person to collaborate with us, to become a part of the team towards a better resolution, right? And we can do that with someone who's emotionally immature. And much like we do with a child, right? We can have a conversation where we can validate their experience, and then we can ask them for their input, and we can remain curious and open and compassionate, and we can create a back and forth collaborative kind of approach to fixing the issue. With the narcissist, the more you try to push or assert yourself, the more they're going to squash that. They're just gonna put an end to that, right? So it will take so much of your energy to try to convince this person who is not convincible that your side is important, that your feelings are important, that it's important as, in a relationship to work together to fix these things. That's not going to happen with a narcissist. And so it's important to know the difference. And I think if you choose to stay in a relationship, because again, there's lots of reasons why we would have to stay in a relationship. And sometimes we have to be even, like, we still have to stay in a close relationship with them due to financial concerns and even safety concerns. So it's important to know that it's a them thing, right? So with the emotional immaturity, it can be a us thing that we can work together, we can fix, we can grow together, and we can and you can gather resources, right? With the narcissist, you're going to want to focus your attention on yourself. You're going to want to resource yourself, and you're going to want to build out your community. You're going to want to build out your support system, because that will be, something that they'll try to do. They'll try to, remove you from all your supports and isolate you, right? So it's really vital that if you're having to stay in a relationship with a narcissist, that you create supports, that you have people to go to where you can say, this happened, and the other person is going to validate that for you and say, wow, that must have been really challenging. How were you feeling in that moment? What did that bring up for you? That sort of thing. Because if you're talking to the narcissist is just going to tell you that that didn't happen, or that you're overreacting and you're too needy and too whatever, too sensitive, all of those things. So they're going to constantly invalidate your experience. So you need to have a place where you feel validated and that your lived experience is validated. Otherwise, you stand the chance of just losing more and more of yourself until eventually you don't even know what's valid anymore. And that's a real concern, right? So there is hope for the emotionally immature. There's a lot less hope for the narcissist. They don't do well in treatment. They can have some incremental changes in behavior, but overall, we're dealing with a lack of empathy, and that's not something you can, bring about in someone if they don't have it, right? And that manipulation, right? That manipulative piece. So yeah, those are challenges that are not really, those are the kind of relationships that, like, a very few relationships would I say to someone like, you need to leave. The being in a relationship with a narcissist, that's the one that I would say leave. If you can, and if you can do it safely, then I would say leave. And this is coming from someone who really believes that a lot of relationships can be saved with the right kind of resources and a willingness on both partners, coming together to actually do the work. I think those can be salvaged. With a narcissist, that's not possible, right? So it's important to know that. I think so that, first of all, you can stop blaming yourself and you can stop questioning, is it me? Because it's not, it's them, right? They're the narcissists. They're the ones who are behaving badly. They're the ones who are behaving abusively in a lot of cases. And so, that's them. That's on them. And so what you can do is you can focus on you. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. If you're not sure if you're in a relationship with someone, I cannot diagnose someone as a narcissist, but I can validate someone's lived experience if they feel like they're living with one, right? And if you're like wondering, should I stay? Should I go? Again, like it's really hard for someone outside of a relationship to know what's really going on inside the relationship, but you can usually tell when someone is in a relationship with someone who's narcissistic, right? Because it really starts to it starts to mess with their perception of reality, and really it further disconnects them from themselves, their authenticity, and they're constantly living on edge, right? And so those are the things that I look for in the person who believes that they might be living with a narcissist. Whether that person actually meets the definition of narcissistic personality disorder is really irrelevant, because I'm not treating that person. I'm treating the person who has been living with someone who either has narcissistic traits, or is emotionally immature, or is a true narcissist. And that's the person that I am helping. So if I can help you in any way, please feel free to reach out. You can private message me anytime you like, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. You can also book a free 45-minute consultation call to see if the work that I do could be helpful to you in your situation. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day. Namaste.